Have you ever been late for work because your neurodivergent kiddo's socks felt weird? And you had to try 7 different pairs before they would even consider putting on their shoes. Or maybe you've football carried your screaming child off the playground, cheeks flushed, heart pounding because the noise and the chaos became too much. If any of this sounds painfully familiar, you, my friend, are not alone. Sensory struggles are real, exhausting, and often leave parents feeling helpless. That is why I am so excited for today's guest, Julia Deney, the powerhouse behind Sense-ational You. Julia has made it her mission to create real, practical solutions that actually help neurodivergent kiddos navigate sensory overload, meltdowns, and daily discomfort. So parents like us don't have to feel like we're constantly putting out fires. Sense-ational You is not just a brand, it's a lifeline for parents looking for science-backed tools to help their sensory-sensitive kids feel comfortable, regulated, and actually enjoy life. If you've ever wished you had a manual for sensory processing struggles, this episode is for you, my friend. So grab your favorite cup and let's dive in. Julia Deney, welcome to Chaos and Caffeine.
Thanks so much for having me.
So, Julia, I ask a lot of people, what is in your cup this morning?
It is a peppermint tea.
Ooh, my last guest was drinking peppermint tea.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's
Just
very
it's great
strange.
in the winter. It's very warming.
So, I love a good origin story. I would love to hear the Sense-ational You journey.
Yeah, so I started out as a fashion design major at Cornell University, and very separately with my sorority started volunteering at a local autism preschool. And they actually brought up to me a lot of sensory challenges with clothing and how clothing plays a role at their school, which really just got me thinking about the impact that fashion could have and how I could kind of use this passion for design and creating to do something more positive. And so I started an independent study into adaptive fashion, so clothing for people with disabilities. And then I graduated in 2020, right into the pandemic. So
Mm.
fashion industry was very much shut down, but special education really needed people because they were still needed services and needed workers in person. So I started kind of going down that route and worked at different preschools and saw kind of how widespread sensory needs were and how much they impacted education, and basically just started figuring out how to turn that independent study and that passion to create things that could help into a brand.
I love that so much. What was the first product idea that you had?
Yeah, I'd say the first product idea we had was our sound reducing hoodie. So it looks a lot different now, but it was an idea I originally had because so many of my students hated noise, but also really hated headphones and didn't like the feeling on their head or would throw them off or would lose or break them. So it was something that took a lot of years and a lot of iterations. So I'd say that first idea of it does not look similar at all, but was definitely one that I always knew I wanted to figure out how to make.
That's okay. That is kind of the just start mentality, and then eventually
Yeah.
you will get it right. And that's amazing. I love that so much because I have a kiddo who does not like the noise, but also does not want to wear the headphones. So, girl, you are speaking my language.
Yeah, I know it's pretty common actually. And at first, when I was teaching, I was so confused. I was like, "You hate noise? Like these will help you," but sometimes those headphones just don't cut it.
Yeah. So, parenting kids with sensory needs is not for the faint of heart. What do you wish more parents understood about how to meet their child's sensory needs?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is understanding that they're not something that can easily be ignored or overcome. And it's not a child being difficult about something that seems small. It's really something that can be really affecting them in a way that takes over all of their thinking. Like they cannot think about anything else if the tag in their shirt is cutting in their neck. And it might not be something that you think about. So you think it's something small and they should just, get over it this time or they're going to have to learn to deal. But it really can have really such a severe difference in their brain that that's really not something they can overcome. And it's not a behavioral thing. They're not being difficult, but the way their brain is processing that sensory input can really be really painful.
Mm. I love that. I am reminded so often of when you said that, of whenever I would be in school and my tag would be bothering me, and I'm like, can we please just cut this out? I
Yes.
love that most brands have gone tagless. That is saving my mommy life over here.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the tagless is the way, all the way.
What's a common misconception that you run across about sensory clothing or tools that you would like to clear up?
Yeah, I think one of the comments I'll get on social media, and you know how the internet is, but I think a pretty common one from people who really don't get it and aren't looking to is that it's babying them or not preparing them for the real world if you're having these adaptations. And I feel like that's just a huge misconception that just because it didn't exist before doesn't mean that people don't need it or will learn to not have it. Um, because it's something that people don't grow out of
Mm.
typically. It's something that will affect them their whole lives. They do need supports for, and they may find how to do that in different ways. But I think having these adaptations in clothing is really like helping them be their best selves and be able to use that energy and brain space and trying to figure out how to adapt so that they can even go about their day to be more productive and put that energy into things they want to do. So I think that kind of idea that it's like babying or they won't get used to the real world is just kind of a sad way to look at it, because really they do need those supports, and it is only going to help them and help them do better in all aspects of life.
Mm. That is so good. That is completely unexpected. I did not think you were going there, but that was so needed for parents to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I would like to talk about your shop. Sense-ational You is a brilliant name. It's like inviting moms to breathe a little bit. What is your favorite product right now?
Yeah, I'd say my favorite product is probably our compression line t-shirt. Um, I love it because I used it so much as a teacher. Um, and I think what's so great about it is that compression can be so calming and have such an instant great effect on kids, especially sensory seekers. But vests can be so challenging to remember to bring around with you, remember where it is,
Mhm.
wrestle them into. And that was honestly so hard, especially in a school setting, was sharing a vest between three classrooms, not knowing where it was. And then by the time you find it, the child's really escalated and you're wrestling them into this compression vest. So what I loved about it, that was just so easy. And it was something I could just lift up the top layer, tighten it to the compression level they need, and the child can continue on. And you kind of avoid that escalation. And for that like practicality reason and like in my own experience with it, that will forever be one of my favorite products because of how much it helped me and my students.
Mm. I love that so much. You saw the need and went for it. And I'm imagining that it is easier for the child to wear a shirt than a weighted vest because
Yes.
well, my son is 9. So now, like, the most terrible thing in the world is to stand out, or to be
Right.
different. So I love that.
Yeah, that was a huge consideration, was one, just making it fashionable so kids felt confident heading into the day, but wanting to hide all the sensory tools within those clothing designs. Because I think as kids get older, they are really aware of kind of those peer stares or comments. And every child, doesn't want, they want to have all the same water bottle. Like when there was the Christmas where all the girls got Stanleys, and you just don't want to be the one that has anything that's standing out or warranting comments by certain ages. And I still want to be able to provide kids with those sensory supports, but make sure that they don't feel like, oh, well, I don't want to wear them because that's going to cause a comment. Or maybe even if it doesn't, you feel like it might, or you feel like people are looking at you. So just wanting to help kids feel as confident as possible while still meeting their sensory needs.
Mm. That is so good. I had no idea that it would start this early, but looking back on my elementary days, I get it now.
Yeah. I know it is like when you're looking down at kids now, you're like, oh, you're still so young. But you do
Yeah.
think back and you're like, no, I was definitely really aware at that
Yeah.
age.
So, how do you decide which products make the sensational you cut?
Yeah. The first way I did it was really by using social media and using organizations to send out surveys. A lot of parents online helped share them and just really get a sense of what would be the most helpful. Sensory needs are so unique, and there's so many different designs that as a design major, as my background, I've come up with and would love to be able to do. But really, as a startup, like really trying to think about the few that would be the most universal and the most helpful overall. So it really came from the consumers and really just saying, like, hey, of these 5 designs, what are 2 you'd be interested in the most? And just kind of went with the top results on that. Just really looking at like the most universally used sensory tools too. Like, oh, what are things you guys use? And if it was vests, then like, okay, so the t-shirts up there. If it was sound is our biggest issue, then putting our sound reducing hoodie up there is like the other one we're going to start with. So it really just came from what's the most universal, but knowing that they're definitely not the perfect solution for everyone. And I definitely would love to create so many more designs as we can.
Yeah. Just a quick thought about the hoodie. Have you ever had any teacher pushback, about wearing the hood in class? I'm wondering.
I actually haven't. I had some parents reach out that said they were worried about that, or their school has a no hood policy or something like that. And what we've been able to do is work with either if they already have an IEP advocate or they're able to get one or they feel confident doing it. It's something that can be added to an IEP as a sensory support. And so we're able to add it right in that, hey, this is the same as having a fidget or having headphones, and to allow that child to use the hood, even just like making sure it's specific that it's about that hoodie to make sure the teachers are really comfortable with that and know that this really isn't just them hiding in a hoodie or wanting to sleep. It's like this is really providing a sensory tool and regulation comfort. And once it's in those documents, it's super easy. Like teachers cannot push back on it legally. So luckily that's been the perfect solution. And usually everyone's really down for it, including the teachers and the admin. It's just that it needs to be in there because of the school policy of no hoods. So that's been the biggest pushback, but overall, like the feedback from the teachers of people actually using them has been really positive.
Looking for some new toys and tools that your ADHD kiddos will love? Play Therapy Supply has you covered with a great selection of toys, games, and fidgets that can be used by ADHD children, their parents, caregivers, and professionals alike. From fidget toys that help children calm down, de-stress, and focus, to social emotional learning resources to help kids understand their feelings and emotions, to games and activities designed to improve emotional regulation. Play Therapy Supply has it all. For thousands of items and fast and free shipping, visit playtherapysupply.com today. I love that so much that it could be written in and then it has to be accepted as a tool. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing people don't know too is like how much you can push to like add into your IEP or 504 plan for your child, just to make sure that they have all the sensory supports that they need.
So, Julia, I would like to know what is, if you have one standout moment, or just what is the most rewarding part of Sense-ational You for you?
Definitely the most rewarding part and honestly standout part is stories that people have submitted from using our clothing. I remember one mom reaching out, very similar to what we were talking about. Her son really struggled with noise and regulation at school, but really didn't like the comments on the headphones or the vest that used to work for him when he was younger. And she's been desperately trying to find a solution for him because it's been really hard for him in class. And she came across our site and our hoodie, which we offer in a constellation print. And she just reached out with a story because she was so emotional about it because space was actually his special interest. It was like this perfect mix of everything she possibly could have been looking for. And that was right after we launched, actually. So it was just such this motivating story. It's like, this is why I need to keep going and turn this into a company. And there's so many more, whether it be the first time someone's child was able to eat in the cafeteria with their peers, or stories from their teachers about how their day went. So there's so many, but all those emails just mean the most to me because so much of my day is just spent on the business side or customer service when there's an issue with orders or sizings or returns. So when I get to see the stories of the true impact the clothing's having, it truly makes my whole year. And honestly, talking about stories from years ago, just the whole reason behind the company is really that impact. And so to hear it so directly from parents means everything.
I can totally see that. You are covered up with 5-star reviews all over the internet. So I know that it is really resonating with parents that need that.
Yeah, it's been really great.
If I could flip that, has there been a hardest part of your sensational you journey?
Yeah, I think the hardest part for sure has been honestly figuring out supply chain, which is something that you don't really think about when you're starting something, or if you haven't started a company that requires products getting made. It's really a unique experience that I've found with other entrepreneurs too, but it's such a challenging thing to navigate, especially when you're getting things manufactured abroad and you can't be there in person and there's time differences, so emails are days apart. And I think it's so hard to navigate, especially for a product like this that's so unique and you want everything to be so right. And really try to communicate how all the seams need to be flat. Like one being not doesn't work and they'll send the sample from all the way. And you're like, no, actually, when I mean all seams flat, I mean literally every single seam you could see. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of back and forth for such a unique product because it is different than they're used to manufacturing a lot of the time. And it's a lot of unique materials and a different way of closing the clothing. So that's been really challenging to try to navigate as a solo entrepreneur, just a sole woman trying to figure it out. But
Mhm.
slowly, hopefully, we'll get everything locked away and eventually that'll go more smoothly. But it's definitely a lot harder than it seems or you would think unless you've done it.
Mm, I am sure. Other than the flat seams, is there another part of getting the clothing exactly right for the children that you come across? I didn't even think about flat seams until you said that. So,
Yeah, the flat seams, the no tags also was surprisingly difficult for the hoodies in particular. The t-shirts was easy because that's a material they can print on. But there was definitely some pushback with the hoodies because the inside is not a flat texture like the outside. You can't actually print on it. So I ended up having to come up with like kind of a workaround of have them sew in a patch flatly sewn in and then screen like print it onto the patch. So it's the same fabric just flipped the other way. So it's almost like the smooth
mm,
outside fabric. But that definitely took, a few weeks of back and forth with the factory. They're like, well, we just can't do that. So we'll just add a regular tag. And you're like, nope, we actually can't have tags. Like, I'm not trying to be
mm,
difficult, but our consumer really cannot have tags in this hoodie.
yeah.
So some of those things definitely took some pushback. The other things would be the material to help block sound is not a typical material that's used in apparel. So I separately from the factory really had to go out and find like a local supplier for that, which was crazy because usually it's a material used in a more industrial setting. So it's put in walls or into ships to help like block noise out. So they're not really used to inquiries about small amounts for apparel production. And really
Mm,
hunting that down in a foreign country is definitely a little challenging, but was really
yeah.
fun and satisfying once you found it.
I love that so much. I love the drive, and I feel like it genuinely comes from a place. I mean, of course, you're a businesswoman. We want to be successful, but your, I guess, kind of passion and just helping is inspirational. It's lovely to hear.
Thanks. Yeah, I definitely can't imagine doing something or running a business that wasn't impact driven or wasn't solving a true problem. I meet so many entrepreneurs or go to different conferences, and it really is such a hard journey that if it wasn't a mission driven company, I definitely would have quit or not even done it. I can't imagine how much harder it is if you don't kind of have that purpose behind what you're doing and knowing, like, okay, I have to make this work because people need this product and it's going to help them. So I'm definitely really thankful to have found kind of that purpose for my life.
What is one piece of sensory advice you wish someone had given you earlier on?
Great one. I think the biggest one is that the type of fabric that people enjoy and is considered sensory friendly to them can be very different. So, really needing to fool a lot of people in making that decision and also just being able to offer different fabric choices for that reason. I feel like it's really important.
If there's one product that you provide that every parent probably needs, what would that be?
I'd honestly say our sound reducing hoodie. I think what's so great about it is there's an eye mask that can pull down. So it's really great for naps or airplane travel. I think it's something that can be so universally loved and is really helpful. The sound that blocks isn't so much that they're not engaged or they can't be present. And I think it's something that everyone can enjoy in different scenarios, whether it be the parent, whether it be the child. and you're going on a road trip as a family, great for a car nap. So I think what's great about it is how universally loved it can be.
I love that so much. I could listen to you all day. I have learned so much myself as an ADHD sensory needs mom, but I want to be respectful of your time and I want people to know where they can find your amazing products.
Yeah, so our website is sensoryclothes.com is the best way to find it on audio. And all of our social media is sensational_you. And sensational is a bit of a play on words. So it's Sense-ational you. So that's how you can find us really everywhere. And my email is on all our social medias, on our website. The chat box on our website goes right to my phone. So I'm definitely very accessible to talk directly, just hear feedback, hear what you want to see, and just connect, can offer like what I think could be get best for your child based on what you're struggling with. So always happy to have a conversation there. And on our website, you'll find everything that we offer. We even have a resource blog if you want to read more about sensory issues in general. So there's so much there at sensoryclothes.com.
And we will, of course, provide all of those details in the show notes as well.
Perfect.
Julia, you're an absolute lifesaver. Like I said, I could do this all day. If someone is ready to ditch the chaos and up their parenting game, they definitely need to come find Sense-ational You. Any new products dropping soon or any exciting things in your future?
Yeah, so right now our new fleece sensory friendly joggers are on pre-order and will be arriving soon. So you can get those to match your sound reducing hoodie, both in kid and adult sizes, which is really fun. And we'll be working on some new colors for our sound reducing hoodie that has been doing really well. So slowly adding new colors and new adjustments in each round based on customer feedback. So new things coming there as well.
Last question, and I'm pretty sure I already know what it is. What is the impact you want to leave or your legacy?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just creating more inclusion and understanding of autism and ADHD and sensory needs in society. I think fashion can be such an impactful tool for creating inclusion. And as I said, with a hoodie that anyone can enjoy, it then comes with the education of why someone might really need it, even if that person could enjoy it. So I think really wanting to increase inclusion and help kids with sensory needs be out there and be at the events they want to be at, whether that's a loud sporting event, whether that's at a restaurant or the grocery store, and just really help society be more inclusive by providing these supports.
Julia, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Phew. Okay. If that didn't just validate your entire parenting experience, I don't know what will. Julia just dropped some serious knowledge bombs, and if you're anything like me, you're probably already making a mental shopping list of the things you need to grab from Sense-ational You. So here's your homework, my fellow chaos coordinators. Go check out Julia and all her sensory-friendly genius at Sense-ational You. If this episode made you go, oh my God, yes, please share it with another parent in the trenches. And hey, if your kiddo has a meltdown today, just remember you're not failing, you're parenting a sensory sensitive legend in the making. You've got this. I'll see you next time for more real talk, survival strategies, and probably a little bit of crying in the car. I love you guys.